21 days and counting, folks. It's the countdown to Orlando. Sir Owen Disney here, and we're going to talk a little TNA Impact, special edition of TNA Impact, which actually was Hardcore Justice. Now, I do want to go into a couple things real quick. I will state right now that still do not have an official announcement of Halloween for Halloween Horror Nights yet, and we're waiting. Probably tomorrow, if I had to guess. That's actually my prediction. It'll probably be tomorrow. And then I'll shoot that video out on Friday, basically because Thursday night, tomorrow night, AJ and myself are going to As Above, So Below, as well as the November Man. So, be really busy Thursday night, so I can't really get the video out then, but I will make sure I get it out on Friday. And then Friday, be a lot of filming. We're going to be doing a lot of filming for the September videos, because obviously, I'm going to be gone over 2 weeks, so don't worry, you'll still get your content. I am going to 86 wrestling content while I'm gone, because it's really hard to be able to take notes and watch a wrestling broadcast and vice versa when you are on vacation. So I am going to go back into wrestling hardcore as of the 1st of October. So that's when I'll return to wrestling content. So I apologize for that, but I will explain it right now. So yeah, another TNA sabbatical. I apologize, but don't worry, I'm doing a WWE sabbatical too, so don't worry. It's also not like I'm doing any favoriting over one brand or the other, even though right now I'm enjoying Impact a whole lot more than I'm enjoying WWE, but that's another story altogether. Let's talk Hardcore Justice, shall we? Started off the show with a great way to start off the show, and that is Stairway to Janice, this ongoing war between Abyss and Bram, and basically feuding over the love of Janice. And Janice, of course, ECW style, hanging high above the ring, just like I predicted she would be. And yes, I just called an inanimate object a she, because that's what they do in this storyline. And this match was brutal to start off the show. Since this is Hardcore Justice, obviously these matches will be stipulation heavy, and there would be most likely a lot of blood. And that did happen on this show, but let's talk about it, shall we? So Bram sets a ladder up and starts to climb. Abyss goozles the throat and choke slams Bram off the ladder. Abyss gets a bag under the ring. Now, it could be anything. You would think it'd be thumbtacks, but obviously he did tease broken glass, and he has used broken glass in the past. But then again, this time, he spills out the contents of the bag on the ring mat, and of course, it's a bunch of thumbtacks. Setting up your own demise. Bram with 3 overhand rights, and Bram charges in, gets sidestep Rob Petrie style, and crashes into one of the barbed wire boards that was against the corner. So there's barbed wire boards across 2 corners on opposite sides of the ring. And that's the first one that Bram goes through. So Abyss starts climbing the ladder, and he gets shoved off of the ladder through the other barbed wire board on the other side of the ring. It looked pretty good, actually. So Bram starts to climb, Bram grabs Janice, and to win this match, you have to not only retrieve the weapon, but you have to use the weapon and then get the pin off of it. So yeah, convoluted logic, but still it works. And he tosses the ladder out because obviously the ladder is of no consequence to him right now, because this is now basically, I hit you with a weapon, this match is over, oh, by the way, I have to pin you first. So this happens, and Bram goes to swing, gets stopped by Abyss, by the Goozle. Bram elbows his way out, comes off the ropes, black hole slam on thumbtacks from Abyss, and Bram is now a human pincushion. Abyss grabs Janice to finally enact some sweet, sweet revenge, raises it high above his head, and obviously you know from reading McFoley's book that when you raise something high above your head, you're just begging to be cut off, and he was begging to be cut off. He gets kicked right in the nuts, and Bram nails Abyss in the midsection. Abyss falls over as if he were shot, and he gets pinned 1, 2, 3. Bram wins this match, takes Janice, and then decides, nah, I'm just going to leave it. So he actually left Janice in the ring. So Abyss got Janice back, but at what cost? This was a good way to start off the show. Not exactly sure I understand the where the blood came in this match. I know where it came in, but it didn't make much sense. before I started recapping, Abyss took the steps. And he took the steps head first and bladed off that. So yeah, it was kind of awkward placement. I probably would have waited for maybe barbed wire or something like that. That's what they're building towards. Stairway to Janus would probably blow off this feud, but I think if they're going to go any further, there's only one direction to go with this, and that's a legitimate barbed wire match, which we haven't seen in TNA in a long time. I'm talking ECW-style barbed wire match. There is no ropes. I mean, just literally, it's just barbed wire surrounding the ring. I mean, you have not utilized fire very much in this feud, so you could bring fire into a new element to this. And, you know, honestly, if this feud is kind of really reminding me of, like, the old-time IWA Japan matches, and it makes me think that I could see a reason why they would utilize something like a C4 or anything like that, but, you know, this is a different day and age, and I know TNA is the more impactful hardcore federation, but when it comes down to it, I don't think they're going to utilize anything like that. But I do think that a barbed wire match is just what the doctor ordered. And a barbed wire match to the point that there's actually not only barbed wire around the ring, but CZW style, there's barbed wire boards around the ring as well. And maybe like a bed of glass or a bed of tacks and the other sides. Like, you have 6 sides to deal with. So why don't you put a different, like, pit outside the ring surrounding this if you're going to do barbed wire. You want to do it right and have different things. Like, obviously, you have glass and you have tacks and, I mean, you could do pits of all sorts of things. So, yeah, if they really want to go extreme with this, they can. But, I don't know. It's an interesting feud this has been because, obviously, I wasn't really knowing much about Bram. I did not see any of his stuff when he was in the Ascension in WWE, well, back in NXT, but still, excuse me. I will state right now that he was the last person I would think would go into a feud with Abyss, but even though he looks like Gunner, he's not in a program like Gunner, so yeah, I like this a lot, and I like Magnus being the one to basically try to goad Abyss into doing something crazy, and of course, it costs him the match. So yeah, I continue this, and I think that, you know what? I think Dr. Stevie needs to return and give Abyss some knowledge to help defeat Bram once and for all. The person that really needs to come back here, honestly, Stevie Richards would be great if it was from a wrestling perspective, but what I really want to see right here is Abyss needs some guidance, and the guidance in Father James Mitchell, and I think that James Mitchell would be a great addition to this feud, and I think that's exactly what they need to do. I think Abyss has lost a lot to Bram, so Abyss needs to go back into his past, and he needs to find the Sinister Minister again. I think that's a great idea. Jim Mitchell would be an awesome addition to this storyline, and I wish TNA would follow suit on that. That's like I said, it's armchair booking, but still, I think that it would be a brilliant addition to this already really good hardcore feud, really old school hardcore feud. So, Ethan Carter III, Rockstar Spud, and Rhino are talking. In the back, of course, they run into the cameraman that you never can see. Ethan Carter III, he spent a night in jail, like the Mountie did, SummerSlam 91, New York. But it gave him a moment of clarity. He had an epiphany, if you will. There are others accountable in this, and they will be held accountable. So yes, our buzzword for the day, our word of day calendar this year is, for the day of this month apparently, is accountable. So that's what we're going to use. So Bram and Magnus are celebrating, and then Magnus kind of turns tail and says, you know, you think you're hardcore, I get that, that's fine, but I'm going to be the one who is going to shine tonight when I win that 6 Sides of Steel #1 Contenders match. So basically kind of argued a bit, but they were like soccer hooligans, so they basically kind of just made up right then and there. Like they fight, like itchy and scratchy. So, it worked pretty well there. No one will outshine Magnus tonight, and he will win, so we'll see what happens. Obviously, Ethan Carter III, Rhino, and Rockstar Spud come out, and they're going to address the issues in the ring. You New York mutants love seeing an innocent woman get put through a table. Fans, of course, chanting yes. No. He just simply says no, like he's slapping us on the wrist, like collectively, as a group, as a fan base. No, you don't like seeing women get put through a table. Kurt Angle had us jailed and arrested, and for that I say, thank you. In jail, I had a moment of clarity. Now, I'll get my revenge on Bully Ray in due time, but there's someone else to blame here. So he points the finger directly at Rhino, which if this was the ECW Rhino probably would have gored him into oblivion, pile-driven him off of the apron through a table, and left him laying in a pool of his own blood screaming the F word every 5 seconds. This is not the ECW Rhino. The ECW Rhino is not fit for television. So he points the finger and Rhino's like, what? Come on. He's completely different. He's like, what happened to Aunt D? It's all your fault. You owe me everything. And then Rhino basically says, you know what? If you don't get your finger out of my face, you're looking at a dead man, bitch. So yes, he is apparently going to the Jesse Pinkman School of Dialogue. So there you go. I'd rather be dirt poor than listen to another word you say, so take your money and shove it straight up your ass! And the entire crowd says it with him. And it made me laugh hysterically, because the emphasis put on every single solitary word, building to the crescendo with him yelling ass into the microphone, is just funny as all get out and priceless in every single way possible. I really like it because I know they were doing it, and I knew they were building up to it, and I was like, Rhino's going to just yell curse words. And obviously he can't use the curse words in ECW, so he's going to curse in a different way. He can say bitch, he can say ass, he can say hell, and he can say damn. Other than that, he really can't say anything else. Because Standards and Practices finally started watching TNA, because that's the reason they can't say asshole anymore. So, basically what happened here was Rhino got the crowd on their side, obviously, and then Rhino, of course, gets open hand slapped from Ethan Carter. So then after that, Rhino's like, you son of a... And before he can say his favorite word, he gets cheap shotted by Carter, and he gets sent into the guardrail on the floor on opposite sides, and then punches away on him in the head when he gets back in the ring. And then he's hitting him, and then Rockstar Spud tries to pull him apart, and he gets shoved down like it's nothing. And then EC3 hits a high running knee lift and leaves Rhino laying in the ring. His shirt's off, he's angry, he's frustrated, and he leaves the ring alone. So yeah, we've seen a new Ethan Carter III, and I like it. I like it a lot. I think EC3 needs to be TNA World Heavyweight Champion before it's all said and done, and I truly believe he will be. Now, obviously, we're building towards a match that was set up last week. Now, don't forget, Low Ki won a scramble match last week in order to get a shot at Samoa Joe in the X Division Championship. And obviously, everyone knows their storied past. They've worked all over the world. They've worked matches in Japan, obviously, they had a brilliant feud in Ring of Honor, and they've even wrestled in TNA a time or two. So, obviously, they have the background. And they have that pedigree that you think about, and then it's the Joe and Ki and Christopher Daniels. Yeah, that feud over the X Division Championship. Obviously, Daniels was not mentioned, but Joe and Low Ki did compete in a three-way for the X Division Championship. Chris Daniels was the last one. So Joe and Low Ki have a legacy in blood. Well, I truly believe that's the truth. And we get a nice, awesome video package, which leads us into our next match. X Division Championship on the line, the Samoan Submission Machine, Samoa Joe, taking on the One World Warrior, Low Ki himself. This match was awesome, and, you know, this show could have been called Hardcore Justice 4! Why? Because it's 4 minutes. All these matches, legitimately, I started 4 minutes in, because most of them were 8 minutes long. So they were like 8-minute matches, and I started 4 minutes in. Because I usually, if I see that it's going to be like 20 minutes of a match, I'll start 10 minutes in, so I at least get half of it in. So like I said, midway through the match, when I'm saying that, it's not just hyperbole, it's basically me saying legitimately midway through the match. So, we pick it up, and vicious chops, and 3 of them in succession. Joe with a headbutt, Low Ki charges in, inverted atomic drop, Yakuza kick, senton backsplash, 1-2, and a kick out. He puts him on the turnbuckle, going for the muscle buster. Low Ki starts elbow striking him in the top of the head. He gets a stiff kick to the chest and a nice double stomp the Warrior's way to the back of Samoa Joe. More of like a mushroom stomp in this case. The best way to to say it would be pretty much Nick Mondo's Zen Bison. So, yeah, CZW, gotta love it sometimes. And he gets that, but it misses. So he's going for M. Bison, and he misses, and he charges in, high elbow from Joe, and he charges in, and low-key turns the tide with shotgun dropkick. 1-2, Samoa Joe kicks out. So low-key goes for the key crusher, and Joe starts knee striking out of it. Hits the powerbomb, 1-2, referee stops the count because Joe turns it into a elevated Boston Crab. And of course that gets turned into an STF because Joe is the Samoan submission machine after all. Key gets to the ropes and Joe hits the face washes. Charges in for the Otani boot scrape, and of course he eats the forearm from Low-Ki. And Low-Ki basically gets decapitated by a lariat from Joe. The knee strikes, tosses his key in the corner, and Low-Ki walks the buckles and hits a 180 kick. Gets a 2 off of that. Nice stiff kick on Joe. Excuse me, goes for a key crusher again. It gets blocked. He puts him on the buckle. Low-Ki again tries to elbow out of it. He gets caught and crotched by Joe. Joe grabs him, muscle buster, 1, 2, 3, and that's the end of that. Short but effective. I enjoyed this match. I did. I enjoy everyone. And every time that Joe and Low-Ki battle. And it was good, and it got the crowd hyped, ready to go. Excuse me. And I will state right now, it was a good way to differentiate from the hardcore matches that we would see later on in the show. And we kicked off the show with a hardcore match. We slowed the pace down. We picked it up with a high velocity, very impactful, pun not intended, X Division title match to go into the rest of the show. I have something in my throat. I apologize. The Hardy Boys are trying to meet with Team 3D, and we don't know what's going to happen with that, but we're going to find out later on. Mr. Anderson is sick and tired of hearing about Samuel Shaw, and of course he still calls him a creepy bastard, and he says, "Gunner, are you an idiot?" And Shaw walks in and says, "You know what, you should say sorry to Gunner," and then they start brawling in the back. We come back from commercial break, they're still fighting. And we pick it up, and it is now Mr. Anderson against Samuel Shaw in an I Quit match. Excuse me. So Shaw's whipped into the buckle, and then whipped into the buckle again. Mr. Anderson with a big clothesline out of the corner, and Shaw locks in, Shaw eventually locks in a modified camel clutch. Anderson escapes, and Anderson gets caught with a knee, comes off the ropes, and Anderson with a clothesline, a back elbow, a clothesline, a back elbow, and of course this hits the spinning neck breaker on Shaw. Green Bay plunge is unsuccessful because Shaw rakes the eyes, and of course shoves him to the corner. He charges in, and out of the way goes Anderson, and Shaw goes shoulder first in the ring post. This is starting everything, and a single arm DDT or a flying armbar, depending on who's calling your match, and a step over armbar tied in, and this is about it. It's about it, and yes, Samuel Shaw finally has to give it up. So he quits. Gunner gets in the ring to make sure Anderson doesn't do anything further, and to make sure the hold is released. Anderson leaves, and we continue this. So yeah, this is now still continuing this three-way feud with Gunner, Samuel Shaw, and Mr. Anderson, and I have no issues with this. I think it works pretty well. I did not like the match last week. Okay, the match last week the IWC did not like, by and large, but I will state that it was alright. It was a lot better than people give it credit for. It was a good wrestling match. Something you don't see very often from Mr. Anderson and Gunner. So, we get our second time that 3D are coming out of their locker rooms, and of course, the unseen cameraman asked them why the Hardys were in there and what it was about, and they said that the Hardys gave us an idea that's going to revolutionize the tag team division and to bring new life to tag team wrestling in general. But there's only one more piece of the puzzle, and we're going to go to the ring and we're going to get that solved right now. So, last week, we didn't see this, but Gail Kim got attacked by Angelina. So, Kurt Angle sees this and is like, you know what, you two ladies want to fight, we're going to do last knockout standing. And Angelina, you know you don't deserve a title shot, and I've said this numerous times, but Gail is a fighting champion, and the title is going to be on the line. So we're getting that later on. The last knockout standing, Gail Kim versus Angelina Love. Excuse me. I apologize. I have to keep saying I apologize and excuse me in this video. That's what I could title it if I was titling it by anything in the video. Bobby Roode is shown earlier on in the show, and he is looking over the 6 sides of steel being assembled in the Grand Ballroom, and he says for 16 years he's only known professional wrestling. Simply put, he wanted to be the best, and he's been the most dominant champion in TNA company history. And he knows what it's like to be a champion. He has what it takes to be a champion. And he sat at home for 7 weeks, not able to practice his craft. But now he's back. 6 sides of steel, one man will leave as #1 contender, that man being the It Factor. So the Hardys come out, and Jeff gets on the mic and says, Matt and I reunited because the fans wanted it. Not because of a nostalgia pop, not because of anything else, not because they wanted it. No, it's because the fans wanted it. So the fans dictate the pace, obviously. When you think tag team wrestling, one word that comes to mind, simply put, is Hardy. But we gotta do better. We have an idea to take our legacy to the next level. Calls out 3D, so Bully and Devon come out. Always great to be back in the ring with you guys, Bully says. I've got an answer. But do you know who we are? We're the ones who put Dixie Carter through a table. We created history together. 2 of the greatest tag teams in the business. Now, we both want to be the tag team champions, Devon and I. And we know you two want to be the tag team champions. But there's one piece of the puzzle missing, and that is the tag team champions. I think we need the champs out here right now to get things done. So here comes Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards, the TNA World Tag Team Champions, the Wolves. They come out and they said, you know what, let's get down to business. You two were some of the best teams in this business. And that's what we want to be. We want to make our legacy. And in order to make our legacy, we want to be a part of yours. We want to beat the best to be the best. Davey Richards says both 3D and the Hardys want a shot anytime, anywhere. Gauntlet's been thrown down. So, it is announced later on in the show, and I'll get to that real quick. It is announced later on in the show that there is going to be a 3-match series. Or a series of sorts. They may actually play it off kind of like the Iron Man series at Starrcade. The one with the 4 tag teams. I think they'll do it that way, but obviously there's only going to be 3. I will state right now, there is going to be a series, and the first team to win 2 matches will be the TNA World Tag Team Champions. The caveat here is they're going to do the first match tonight on Impact. Obviously, I'm talking about Wednesday's Impact, which is going to be recapped next week. Got to be a week behind, I apologize. Again, sorry, I apologize. And TNA Wrestling is probably the title of this video more appropriately. So, basically, there's going to be a match, and then whoever wins the match gets to pick the stipulation for the next match. So, I'm really interested to see exactly where this goes. Hardys, 3D, Wolves, TLC, it's a foregone conclusion. It has to happen, and it's going to be awesome when it does. So, the first match will be tonight on Impact. But let's talk about Hardcore Justice as I continue. Mike Tenay is set to go talk to Dixie Carter. And Dixie knew the second that she landed through the table that something was wrong. But she hoped it was nothing serious. Once she went to her doctor, she was told she had a broken back. Broken a lot of vertebrae, she had a cracked rib. And she says it takes a lot of blunt force trauma to do that. To break someone's back. Now, Dixie saw the footage once, and it made her absolutely horrified. Bully and I went to war, and I was the one that came out with a broken back. Now, I'm going to focus on business outside of the ring for quite a while. But don't worry, you haven't seen the last of Dixie Carter. Don't forget, Carters never forget. So Carters are apparently now elephants. So there you go. Now, that's interesting. interesting the way that they did that with Dixie. And then, of course, after it was over, after the promo, they sent Mike Tenay away. And you could hear Dixie yelling for Surge to fluff her pillow, which we didn't get a Surge sighting. We haven't seen Surge since he got laid out back in the day in Impact. But still, yeah, that was basically that. Last knockout standing, TNA Knockouts Championship on the line, Gail Kim defending against Angelina Love. We pick it up halfway through the match, and Gail goes for a suplex off the ring steps. Velvet at ringside, of course, she interferes at every turn because obviously you can't get disqualified in a last knockout standing match. You just have to make sure you answer the 10 count. Velvet pulls the leg and Gail crashes hard into the ring steps, but she's up at 8. So Angelina with a suplex is blocked. Suplex blocked again, and Gail with a back kick and locks in the ring post figure 4. Velvet ends up breaking this with a straight kick right to the nose. Gail somehow up at 8. Whip in, it gets reversed, and Angelina gets set hard into the guardrail. Gail grabs a steel chair, and Angelina is like crawling up the ramp trying to escape. Gail swings the chair, and it gets caught by Velvet. They argue with the chair, and this allows Angelina to get back to her feet and hit the Botox injection, sending the chair into the face of Gail Kim. So it looked awesome, by the way. Velvet rolls Angelina back in, and Gail somehow, someway, gets up, and Velvet tosses her in. Angelina's up slowly, and Velvet going for the in-yo face. It gets countered, and Gail tosses Velvet into the buckle because Angelina was up top ready to finish her off, and she gets crotched, and Gail tosses Velvet outside. Gail climbs up. Angelina tries to go for a flatliner off the top. Gail elbows out of it and picks her up over her shoulder and tosses her off the top rope. It's kind of, okay, it's kind of like, it's not a Samoan drop, but it's the same concept. It's like a Northern Lights Samoan drop combo, basically, because she had her up over her shoulder, and then she just fell back off the top and landed into a chair. They landed on the chair. Gail got up at 9, referee counted 10. That was the end. So yeah, good match. Not as great as Gail Kim and Taryn Terrell, their last knockout standing match they had, but that's a lot to live up to because that was an awesome match. And no mention of Jessica Havoc this week, so I'm guessing she'll be debuting on Impact maybe tonight. No, I don't think it's tonight. It might not be tonight. I think it's... She'll make her presence known the next time that we're going to see something in the Knockouts division that may or may not involve the champion. MLK come out, and of course, if you are not a regular pop viewer and you just stumbled on this video, MLK is my cheeky way of saying MVP, Lashley, and Kenny King. So yeah, MLK come out. MVP was supposed to be the challenger for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship at Slammiversary, but he got injured and did a house show, got hurt. It was actually just an indie show. It wasn't even a TNA show. I believe it was in Canada. I don't recall off the top of my head. Lashley stepped in, and he brought home the World Heavyweight Championship regardless. MVP believed in him. So MVP is being the hype man here, so he's being very un-Danny-O here right now. Lashley defeated Eric Young, and then Austin Aries, and then Jeff Hardy, and 3 up, 3 men down. Lashley has dominated them all. Now tonight, this match will determine who the next challenger is going to be. But does MLK look worried? Nah, not at all. There's no reservation or hesitation because the winner of tonight's match has already lost. Whoever wins is simply just food for the beast. I like that line, that's nice. Bow down to the true king of New York, your TNA World Heavyweight Champion, the Destroyer Lashley. I like that. I like that. Great promo from MVP there. I enjoyed that. And it sets up the fact that Lashley could care less who wins this because he's going to obliterate them in the ring. We'll see. Speaking of 6 Sides of Steel, main event time, Bobby Roode, Gunner, Showtime Eric Young, Austin Aries, Cowboy James Storm, Magnus, 6 Sides of Steel for the #1 contendership to the TNA World Heavyweight Championship currently held by the Destroyer Lashley. We pick it up after the commercial break. Storm's about to escape. Bobby Roode pulls him back in. Aries tries to escape, but Gunner stops him, and Storm goes for Eye of the Storm on Bobby Roode, and of course, since they've been tag team partners for so long, they definitely know how to counter each other's moves, and Roode counters into a crossface. EY hits the sharpshooter on Magnus, and Austin Aries goes for the last chancery on Gunner. 3 simple submission moves in the center of the ring. Aries starts climbing, Bobby Roode stops him, Eric Young climbs up, and Aries rings his bell. Aries hits the missile dropkick on Bobby Roode, and he runs into a double R spine buster by Bobby Roode. So Magnus hits the spine shaker. We're going finisher's galore here. Magnus hits the spine shaker on Bobby Roode. EY pile driver on Magnus, which is stopped by Storm in the last call super kick. Excuse me. Gunner explodes out with a leaping double clothesline to Magnus and Storm, since they're the only heels in the match. Gunner climbs up. Aries stops him. He kicks him away, Storm starts punching away, and Aries pulls Gunner off. Aries climbs up, Magnus knocks him off. Gunner climbs up, Aries nails Magnus and hits the discus lariat, hits the rolling elbow and starts climbing out. Magnus gets cut off, and we set up 2 Tower of Doom spots in opposite corners. Magnus is superplexing Austin Aries while EY is powerbombing him on one side of the ring. And James Storm is superplexing Gunner while Bobby Roode is powerbombing him. All 6 men are down. So Eric Young and Bobby Roode are the first men standing. And they start climbing opposite sides. They look at each other and then they start climbing faster. So it's a race to get over the top and hit the floor. And then they both hit the floor at the same time. So Stifler and Brian Hebner on opposite sides of the ring have declared Bobby Roode and Eric Young respectively your winners of the match. So, referees can't decide because they hit at the same time, and judging how many times I watched that replay, it really looks like they hit at the same time, so kudos to them for actually getting their timing down. And they both have won. So, 2 ways to look at this. Number 1, you do a singles match between Bobby Roode and Eric Young, the former Team Canada collide, and the winner faces Lashley. Number 2, you do a 3-way with Lashley, and both of them get a title shot. 1 way is unfair to the person who loses a singles match, but it's wrestling, so it makes sense. And 1 way is unfair to Lashley, who's the champion, who has to face 2 guys in order to defend his championship successfully. So I think they could go opposite ways on this. I think that there's reason to believe that they could go either way. What I think will probably happen is eventually we are building towards Bobby Roode and Bobby Lashley, and I know that's going to happen. But I think that we're going to have this little roadblock in the way to continue to build it with Showtime Eric Young, which, like I said, since they gave Eric Young the World Heavyweight title, and even though he lost to Lashley, I will state that Eric Young has been awesome in Impact, and I very much enjoy the fact that he is now not a comedy act to the entire world anymore. I mean, obviously, anybody that watches indie work definitely knows what Eric Young is made of. But when it comes down to it, a lot of the TNA faithful did not see any of his indie work, and they basically have just seen him as the comedy act. So they basically have taken that, and they've given him a reason to be a credible contender and a credible champion to the TNA brand. So I think it's really awesome, and I think it's great what they're doing. Now, as of Impact this week, we'll talk about that in a second, but I do want to show right now that I will recommend a couple things if you like old school hardcore matches. If you like blood, you like violence, you like good old school ECW, then check out Abyss and Bram. It may not be for everyone, but it was enjoyable for me because I'm an ECW fan from back in the day. Samoa Joe and Low Ki was really good, really short but effective. I think it worked just fine. Anderson and Shaw was alright. I mean, nothing to write home about, but it was okay. I mean, it continued the feud. Gail Kim and Angelina Love was not the best last knockout standing match, but had a really hot finish and worked really well. They teased the Beautiful People breaking up last week before Hardcore Justice, and now here at Hardcore Justice, they actually did not do any teases whatsoever, and they had Velvet basically intent on making sure that Angelina walked out with the championship, regardless what she had to do, so they played that story. So we kind of put the breakup of the BPs on the back burner for the time being, so that'll probably pick back up eventually, but at least for the time being. And then, of course, when Jessica Havoc comes in, all bets are off. Now, the main event, I will say right now, Six Sides of Steel was fun. It wasn't the greatest match, but I love the 2 Tower of Doom spots. I like the finish with the double drop at the same time. I think that works really well. And I know with TNA you have to climb over because they don't go through the door normally. So you could have had someone try to escape through the door and someone try to climb over, but having them both climb over and have them both hit at the same time, brilliant booking, I think, from TNA right there. So there's a lot of directions to go from here. So Impact this week, you're going to get the official debut of the American War hero, Chris Melendez. He is actually the second superstar in TNA history that only has one leg. Obviously, Zach Gowen being the other one. And he has a prosthetic, and he's going to make his debut this week on Impact. I don't know if he's just doing a promo or if he's going to work a match, but I know that he is going to be on Impact this week as being played up on ImpactWrestling.com. You're also going to see a #1 contenders match to Gail Kim's Knockouts Championship. It's Madison Rayne and Taryn Terrell. So yes, this is definitely building towards Taryn Terrell and Gail Kim one more time for the Knockouts Championship. No interference whatsoever. Should be really awesome there. You're going to get Sonata and his final transformation after being at Cowboy James Storm's awkward complex. Like his, where he's trying to make new creations and basically be the mad scientist of Impact right now, trying to turn Sonata into the Great Sonata, making him even better than Muta ever was, and that's what Storm's trying to do, and he's going to face off in his new persona of the Great Sonata against Austin Aries. I'm really looking forward to this match, because they always put on phenomenal matches, and I'm looking forward to see what happens when he's the Great Sonata instead of just Saya Sonata. We're going to get a match where Rhino's going to get some revenge on Ethan Carter III. They're going to face off in a singles match. Bobby Lashley has put an open challenge out to anyone who wants to fight him, so that's going to happen. We're going to have open fight night, basically, with the World Heavyweight Champion, so that's going to be happening, as well as a match that is going to be colossal, the first in the series to determine who will be the undisputed TNA World Tag Team Champions, the Hardys, 3D, and the current Tag Team Champions, the Wolves. So that's going to happen, and Kurt Angle's got a little decision to make to determine who is going to be the one facing Lashley. Is it going to be Showtime Eric Young? Is it going to be the X Factor Bobby Roode? Or is it going to be both of them? We'll find that out probably tonight on Impact. I don't read spoilers on Impact because I'm recapping it a week early, so there you go. That being said, wrestling fans, join me yet again for NXT and SmackDown and Raw coming up in September. I can say that and mean it now, because technically September's almost over. So Impact, and the next time I will be recapping Impact will be September 3rd. So yes, this is awesome. It's like, I love how this year's flying by, obviously because I'm going home soon. Now, the next time I will be talking wrestling will be on September 1st. So we're going to talk NXT and SmackDown on the 1st, and we're going to be talking about Raw on the 2nd and Impact on the 3rd. So that's going to be taken care of. For the rest of the week, real quick, I'll let you know that AJ's Movie Reviews will be returning on Friday. We're going to be talking about As Above, So Below, The November Man, as well as A Most Wanted Man, and two of the best movies of the year that I've seen this year, What If and Magic in the Moonlight, and there's one extra movie going to go on that list as well. A lot of really awesome indie movies are going to be recapped very soon on this channel. They're going to be in the AJ's Movie Reviews. Ashley will return talking about video games and movies connections. That's going to be very soon. And this Sunday, brand new verses. We're going to start our gangster theme that's going to get us through the rest of the year. I'm not going to say it's every week. I'm going to say every once in a while we're going to throw a gangster one at you. And we're going to have a lot of them ready to go for this week. Should be pretty fun. And as always, Halloween Horror Nights fans watching these videos, check out when I finally get my official announcement of Halloween. I'll shoot that video out to you guys, and then I'll decrypt those cryptic statements I made about wrestling and Halloween Horror Nights and the connection between the two. So we'll talk about that later. So in the meantime, if you like these videos, tell your friends about them, leave a comment, do subscribe, help spread the word about Pop. If you haven't yet, go to Facebook and click like on that Facebook fan page. If you like these wrestling recaps, you like anything we do, the content on Pop, then go and click like on that Sir Owen Disney Pop, and that's one word, Sir Owen Disney Pop on Facebook. If you want to send me a friend request on Facebook, go right ahead. Just let me know that you're a fan of the channel and it is Owen Disney. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, it's at Sir Owen Disney. And last but certainly not least, if you'd like to talk wrestling with me, WWE or TNA. If you'd like to talk theme parks with me, or Disney, or Universal in general, you want to ask me specific questions. If you'd like to become a popcaster yourself, you can send your content to this channel at suroanddisney@gmail.com. In the meantime, I want to thank you guys and girls out there for watching, and until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all I gotta say about that.